In the vibrant heart of Nigeria's largest city, Lagos, where modern skyscrapers kiss the skies and yellow buses weave through busy streets, stood an architectural marvel, the Lagos Grand Hotel. Known as the most prestigious hotel in West Africa, it attracted billionaires, celebrities, and presidents from around the world. But this morning, a peculiar scene unfolded at the hotel's staff entrance, a narrow corridor usually reserved for janitors and kitchen workers. A tall, dark-skinned man, about 1.90 meters in height, walked in silently, pushing a cleaning cart. His slender and athletic body moved with grace, but it was hidden beneath layers of filthy clothing, a torn brown shirt, grease-stained trousers, and battered sneakers. His name was Oscar, a 29-year-old billionaire, one of the youngest business tycoons in all of Africa. But nobody knew his face. His skin was smooth and cafe brown, his face chiseled and symmetrical, with a strong jawline, high cheekbones, and deep, shiny almond eyes. His short, curly black hair was tucked under a torn cap, and his oval-shaped head looked weary from pretending. Despite his dirty disguise, he remained strikingly handsome, though no one dared to look long enough to notice. Oscar was on a secret mission, a mission to find something his money had never bought: genuine love. After years of failed relationships built on status and wealth, he had grown tired of gold diggers and shallow conversations. For months, he had dreamed of finding a woman who would love him not for his bank account, but for the man he truly was. And today, his journey began, not as a CEO, but as a cleaner. As he wheeled his cart into the hotel's back entrance, other staff walked past him coldly. Some didn't say a word. Others gave him pitiful or annoyed glances. A loud voice echoed from a nearby corridor. "Hey! New guy!" shouted a supervisor. "Hurry up and mop the lobby. We've got guests arriving in 30 minutes. Oscar nodded quietly and kept moving, staying in character. Inside, he could barely believe this was his life now. As he entered the main hallway of the staff quarters, he observed the structure. Clean beige tiles, fluorescent lighting, bulletin boards pinned with staff schedules. On the far wall hung the framed portraits of the hotel's executive team. His own face would one day be up there, just not yet. He reached the janitor's closet and opened it. Buckets, gloves, mops, and disinfectant. Everything smelled of bleach. He put on a pair of torn yellow gloves and grabbed a mop. His heartbeat quickened as he stepped into the main hotel hallway. This was it. His first day of pretending to be someone else. The front desk buzzed with morning energy. Managers, assistants, and secretaries moved like clockwork. Most barely glanced at him. But Oscar observed them all. He was looking for something, someone. Then, he saw her for the first time. Inside the opulent lobby of Lagos Grand Hotel, the atmosphere was always in motion. Guests checking in, phones ringing, polished shoes clicking against the marble floor. Beneath the surface of all this elegance, the staff worked with precision. Among them was a young woman who moved with quiet dignity and grace. Her name was Sophia. She was 22 years old, stood at 1.90 meters tall, and had a slender, elegant build. Her skin was fair and glowing, almost porcelain-like under the hotel's soft golden lighting. Her face was heart-shaped, with delicate features, shiny light brown almond eyes, and long, smooth, straight golden blonde hair that flowed past her shoulders. Her head was narrow and symmetrical, always held high with confidence and calm. That morning, Sophia, dressed in a fitted light blue blouse, a black pencil skirt, and simple black heels, walked through the lobby with a folder pressed to her chest. Her strides were smooth, quiet, yet purposeful. She radiated professionalism but never coldness. She worked as a secretary to the hotel's assistant manager, but you wouldn't know it from the way she treated everyone equally, whether it was a general manager or a janitor. Just as she passed a corner of the main hallway near the lobby, something happened. Oscar was trying to mop quickly before guests passed through. He wore his dirty brown shirt, grease-stained trousers, dusty sneakers, and torn gloves. The mop bucket tipped too far and water spilled across the polished floor. Several staff nearby simply walked past. One rolled his eyes, muttered something, and left. But Sophia stopped immediately. Without hesitation, the tall, fair-skinned, golden-haired young woman crouched next to the dirty-looking cleaner. She didn't seem disgusted. She wasn't afraid to get her skirt a little wet. With a warm, genuine smile, she said in a soft, calm voice, "Sophia, are you okay? Let me help you with that." Oscar, caught off guard, stared for a moment. No one had ever spoken to him with that kind of softness since he began his hidden life as a cleaner. "Oscar, thank you. I didn't expect that." Sophia grabbed the edge of the mop, helped him steady the bucket, and looked him in the eye without judgment. For the first time in weeks, Oscar felt like a human being again. She stood up gracefully, brushed off her skirt slightly, and smiled once more before walking away, her golden blonde hair bouncing with each step. Oscar's eyes followed her, not in lust, but in admiration. Something about her wasn't like the others. It wasn't just beauty, it was her humility, her gentle strength, her willingness to kneel beside someone everyone else ignored. He didn't even know her name yet. But her face, her heart-shaped, radiant face framed by golden hair and shining light brown eyes, was already etched in his memory. As the scent of her subtle perfume lingered in the air, Oscar realized something else. This might be the beginning he was hoping for. Maybe love really could be found in the most unexpected places. The clock struck 1 p.m. The sun outside gleamed through the dusty windows of the staff lounge. Inside, the smell of reheated food mingled with the hum of gossip and laughter. It was lunchtime, but the mood wasn't entirely relaxed. For some, it was an arena of silent judgments. Oscar, the hotel's newest cleaner, walked in holding his lunch wrapped in a thin, torn plastic bag. He was still wearing his dirty brown shirt, grease-stained trousers, and dusty old sneakers. His torn yellow gloves stuck out of his back pocket. At 29 years old, standing 1.90 meters tall, slender and athletic, he carried himself with quiet resolve despite his appearance. His cafe-brown skin was dulled by sweat and exhaustion. His oval-shaped head, chiseled symmetrical face, strong jawline, high cheekbones, short curly black hair, and deep shiny almond-shaped eyes gave him an underlying nobility, but no one seemed to see it. He moved to the corner of the room and sat at an empty table, placing his meal in front of him. A cheap plastic container filled with plain white rice and 2 dry pieces of meat, nothing more. Around him, a group of hotel employees were chatting and laughing. One of them, the assistant manager, stood up and looked toward Oscar with a smirk. The assistant manager was 35 years old, 1m75, stocky and round-bellied, with dark chocolate skin, a wide square-shaped face, low forehead, narrow eyes, small short dreadlocks, and a loud, arrogant voice. He wore an elegant navy blue shirt, gold-trimmed name tag, and slim-fitting black trousers. With mock enthusiasm, the assistant manager raised his voice so everyone could hear. Assistant manager, mocking tone. "Hey, cleaner of the year! Did you scrub the toilets with your hands again today?" Laughter erupted from his group. Someone pretended to sniff the air. Another waved a napkin as if trying to drive away a bad smell. Oscar looked down at his rice, tightening his jaw. He didn't reply. He had dealt with worse. But the sting of humiliation burned fresh every time it happened. He wasn't just physically dirty, he was being treated as less than human. That's when something unexpected happened. Sophia, the 22-year-old, 1.90-meter tall, slender and graceful woman with fair, glowing skin, a heart-shaped face, shiny almond-shaped light brown eyes, a narrow symmetrical head, and long, straight golden blonde hair, stood up from her seat across the room. She wore a white blouse tucked neatly into a high-waisted beige skirt, with low tan heels. She had been eating silently until now, watching. With firm steps, she crossed the room and faced the assistant manager, her voice sharp and controlled. "Sophia," firmly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "That's enough. He's a human being like you and me. You should be ashamed." The room went quiet. Forks froze in midair. The assistant manager blinked, visibly uncomfortable. No one had ever spoken to him that way, especially not Sophia, one of the hotel's most respected and admired employees. Oscar looked up slowly, stunned. He met Sophia's eyes. They weren't just defending him, they were seeing him. She didn't wait for approval or applause. Calmly, she reached into her bag, pulled out an unopened bottle of water, and walked over to Oscar's table. Still holding her confident posture, she placed the bottle gently beside his lunch and smiled. Oscar stared at it, then back at her. His deep almond eyes, usually wary, softened. It wasn't about the water. It was about dignity. About someone choosing kindness when cruelty was easier. For a few seconds, no one said anything. The laughter had vanished. All that remained was the sound of a fan spinning overhead and the unspoken truth echoing in the silence. Not all heroes wear suits. Some wear simple skirts and carry courage in their hearts. Oscar took a breath, nodded at her slowly, silently thanking her. And for the first time since arriving at this hotel, he didn't feel invisible. The sky was an ocean of gray that evening, heavy with storm clouds. Thunder cracked above the hotel courtyard as staff hurried through the lobby, eager to escape the downpour. One by one, umbrellas popped open like mushrooms, and coats flapped as people disappeared into the night. But one man didn't rush. Oscar stood under the angry sky. His deep, shiny almond-shaped eyes were focused downward, fixed on a rusty drainage pipe at the edge of the building. His blue-gray hotel overalls, soaked through, clung tightly to his body. His old work boots squished with every step, and water ran down his face in tiny rivulets, dripping from his curly hair onto his collar. The pipe he pretended to fix wasn't even the real issue. Oscar could have left like the others, but he didn't. This was his way of proving something, to himself, to the world. That his dignity didn't wash away with the rain. That even in the storm, he had value. As he knelt in the mud, hands covered in sludge, the wind blew harder, bending the trees like dancers caught mid-motion. Lightning illuminated the sky. Still, he kept at it. Then came the sound of soft footsteps on wet pavement. He looked up. There, approaching through the downpour, was Sophia. She held a bright red umbrella, her cream-colored trench coat tied at the waist, the edges just grazing her beige pants. On her feet were simple, elegant brown ankle boots, now spotted with rainwater. Her hair stuck gently to her cheeks from the moisture, but she didn't seem to care. "Sophia," gently. "You'll get sick like this? Come under my umbrella, please." She wasn't shouting. She didn't scold. She simply offered, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. A hand of humanity, extended in the middle of a storm. Oscar looked up at her, this glowing figure of compassion framed by rain and light. The streetlight behind her cast a golden halo on the scene, catching droplets in the air like fireflies. He blinked, not from the water, but from the emotion rising in his chest. He didn't speak right away. Instead, his thoughts echoed louder than the thunder. Oscar, thinking. She doesn't care about my clothes. She cares about my soul. In that moment, the chill in his bones warmed slightly. Not from the umbrella, but from being seen, not as a cleaner, not as a background figure, but as a man with worth. Slowly, he stood up. His blue-gray uniform clung to him, soaked and heavy, his boots squelching as he moved. Sophia tilted the umbrella so that it covered them both. The world outside remained wild and loud, but under that red canopy, it felt like peace. They didn't say much. No need to. Sophia simply stood there, shoulder to shoulder with a man everyone else overlooked. The silence between them was not awkward, but sacred. Two people, framed in a moment that neither of them would forget. And as the storm raged around them, true colors were revealed, not just the hues of wet uniforms or red umbrellas, but the kind of colors that live inside the soul. A new week began, but nothing felt ordinary. The sun was just starting to climb over the horizon, bathing the hotel in soft golden light. Staff went about their duties with familiar repetition. But beneath the surface, a change was about to unfold. A secret, long held in silence, was ready to be released. At 8:17 a.m., a sleek black luxury SUV pulled up at the front entrance of the hotel. Its glossy surface reflected the elegant building and the sky above like a mirror. The doors opened with a gentle hush of hydraulics. From the back seat stepped a man whose presence demanded attention. It was Oscar, but not the Oscar the staff remembered in blue overalls. This was Oscar, the dirty cleaner. But this time, he was dressed in a custom-tailored charcoal black suit, with a white dress shirt, matte silk tie, and polished Italian leather shoes. A gold watch peeked from under his cuff. He looked powerful, calm, like someone who owned not just the moment, but the entire building. Inside, Sophia was arranging documents behind the front desk. She wore her usual cream office blouse, a high-waisted pastel skirt, and simple pearl earrings. Her demeanor was poised, focused, unaware that her life was about to shift. As Oscar entered the grand lobby, his leather soles echoed against the marble floor. His gaze was steady, unshaken. The receptionist at the entrance did a double take. One of the bellboys froze, then whispered, "Is that really?" Just then, the hotel manager rushed out from his office, almost tripping over a rug in his haste. The manager, a 52-year-old, short and plump man with medium beige skin, a round face, bald top with grey hair on the sides, small round brown eyes, and a thick mustache, approached nervously. His uniform was neat but wrinkled at the collar, a clear sign of his panic. Manager, stammering, "Sir, we didn't know you were." Oscar, without pausing or breaking his calm, raised one hand gently to silence him. He didn't stop. He kept walking toward the reception desk, toward her. When Oscar finally stood before Sophia, the air felt charged. She looked up, confused at first. And then she blinked, trying to process the sight in front of her. Her hand froze mid-air above the guest register. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came. Oscar, softly, warmly, "I have something to confess." Sophia's heart skipped. Oscar, smiling, "I'm not a cleaner. I'm the new owner of this hotel chain. And you are the reason I believe true love still exists." Silence. Sophia gasped, eyes wide with disbelief. Her almond eyes shimmered, and for a moment she just stood there, speechless. Not because she felt tricked, but because everything made sense now. The calm in his voice. The depth in his eyes. The humility despite power. She realized then that this man had never lied, not truly. He had simply waited for the right moment to show his truth. And this truth? It wasn't just about wealth or power. It was about heart. Weeks had passed since the truth was revealed. Life at the hotel had resumed its rhythm, but for Oscar and Sophia, everything had changed. What had started as a test of character had blossomed into something real, pure, honest, and profound. The hotel's private garden, usually quiet except for the occasional guest stroll, had been specially prepared for this moment. Roses, tulips, jasmine, and sunflowers bloomed in perfect harmony. A gentle spring breeze carried the scent of hope and new beginnings. At the heart of the garden, beneath an arched trellis of white lilies and vines, stood Oscar. Oscar looked nothing like the cleaner he once pretended to be. And yet, he carried that same humility in his soul. Today, he wore a white linen suit, crisp and soft under the morning light, with a light blue shirt and no tie. His brown leather loafers were polished, but understated. He wasn't here as a businessman. He was here as a man in love. As Sophia entered the garden, her breath caught in her throat. Sophia looked like a dream wrapped in spring. She wore a pastel pink dress, modest, flowing, with embroidered floral accents at the sleeves. Her golden hair cascaded gently over her shoulders, dancing in the wind. They met under the floral archway. The garden was quiet. Even the birds seemed to hush in reverence for the moment. Then, slowly, Oscar dropped to one knee. The world seemed to hold its breath. From his pocket, he pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it, revealing a simple yet elegant silver ring, set with a modest but beautifully cut diamond. He looked up at her, his deep eyes filled with sincerity. "Oscar," softly, "I don't care about your background, your bank account, or your past. I only care about your heart. Will you marry me?" For a moment, everything was still: time, sound, breath. Sophia's hands covered her mouth. Her eyes shimmered, not from shock, but from a tidal wave of emotion. Tears welled up. One slipped down her cheek. Then another. But she was smiling. It was the kind of smile that came from the soul, from knowing that despite the trials, despite the unknowns, she had been seen, valued, and loved. Sophia, tearfully smiling. Yes. 1,000 times, yes. Applause echoed softly in the distance. From the hotel windows, staff members had quietly gathered, peeking from curtains and balconies. They cheered, some wiped tears from their eyes. The same people who had once misjudged Oscar now smiled in admiration. A few had even set up flowers discreetly that morning, suspecting what was about to happen. Oscar stood, slid the ring gently onto Sophia's finger, and pulled her into an embrace. Not rushed. Not showy. Just full of warmth and meaning. The sun emerged from behind a cloud, bathing them in golden light. The wind carried the fragrance of blossoms. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not titles. Not pasts. Not appearances. Just love, humble, unfiltered, and eternal. End narration. Sometimes, love doesn't look at the clothes you wear or the job you have, it looks at the soul behind the mask. Sometimes in life, appearances lie. The person you think is poor might be rich in values, and the one who looks wealthy might be bankrupt in heart. Oscar hid his wealth not to deceive, but to discover something real. And Sophia proved that true beauty comes from within. She saw love, not luxury. She chose character over comfort, kindness over gold. Their story is a reminder to all of us. The world teaches us to look at the outside, at status, money, fashion, fame. But real happiness begins when we look deeper, when we listen to the heart instead of the noise. So if you're searching for love, don't just search for what looks good. Search for what feels right. Don't just ask, what do they have? Ask, who are they when no one's watching? Love doesn't ask for riches. It asks for truth. And now, dear viewer, if this story moved you, if you believe in love that goes beyond appearances, share this message. Let it reach someone who needs to be reminded that they are worthy of real love, just as they are. Like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring stories that heal hearts and open eyes. Because somewhere out there, someone is waiting to be loved, not for what they own, but for who they truly are. Thank you for watching and see you for the next videos.